When the CEO brought his white moonlight back home, I was holding a spatula, about to ask if the CEO wanted me to add a few more dishes just then. The white moonlight pointed at me and cried, "I knew what was written in the novels was true as soon as I went abroad. You found a stand-in and kept her at home." Huh? I looked down at my chef's uniform and the spatula in my hand. No one informed me about being a stand-in. Before I could react, I heard the white moonlight Lila continue, "No wonder you ignored me these years when I was abroad. It turns out you already had a new love by your side and completely forgot about me, your old love. Even now that I'm back, you're still reluctant to send this stand-in away. Since that's the case, I'll leave and let you to be." Looking at Lila's cheerful appearance, I was completely stunned. What kind of script is this? Didn't I get recruited to the villa as a chef with an annual salary of $8 million by the CEO Gabriel, because of my excellent cooking skills? To help him get a stomach problem cured. How did I become a new love and a stand-in? Gabriel couldn't help frowning either. What nonsense are you talking about? Didn't I fly to see you every week during the 3 months you were abroad? How did I ignore you? And this is the chef at home. Elena, yes, not what you're making up. A chef? A tear rolled down Lila's cheek. Where can you find such a young female chef? I like to wear white clothes, and she's wearing white clothes too. What else could she be but a stand-in? Brother Zhu, why are you lying to me? I looked down at my white chef's uniform, then at Lila's white silk dress. And the corner of my eye twitched involuntarily. The only thing these two have in common is that they're both made of white fabric. I sighed and said, "Lila, I'm really a chef. If you don't believe me, you can go to the kitchen and check. There's a pot of chicken soup simmering on the stove that I made." But Lila covered her ears and stomped her feet. "I don't want to hear it. Even if there is, it must be something you faked on purpose to deceive me." Gabriel said helplessly, "Then tell me, what will it take for you to believe that Elena is the chef? Send her away. And I'll believe it." Lila had an expression as if she could see through everything. It's written in novels that the white moonlight and the stand-in can never coexist otherwise. One day, this stand-in will replace me, the white moonlight. Brother Zhu. I don't want to lose you, so she has to leave. After hearing her say this, Gabriel's frown deepened. He looked at me hesitantly. His stomach problem had just been mostly cured by me, and he really couldn't do without my cooking skills now. But if he didn't send me away, Lila obviously wouldn't let it go. After a moment, Gabriel finally made a decision. He walked up to me and said in a low voice, "Elena, I know we signed a live-in agreement, but given the current situation, I can only ask you to move to the penthouse nearby. I'll double reimburse your commuting expenses, and I'll give you an additional 3 months' salary as compensation. How about that?" My eyes lit up immediately. Gabriel's penthouse was only a 5-minute walk from the villa, and now I could not only get double commuting expenses, but also earn an extra 3 months' salary for nothing. This was a great deal. I nodded without hesitation. "No problem, Gabriel. Do you need me to move now?" As I said this, I took out my phone and prepared to call the moving company. Gabriel was obviously taken aback. He probably didn't expect me to be so straightforward. A strange feeling flashed through his heart. He opened his mouth, but in the end he just nodded and said, "Well, move." The moving company's truck arrived soon. While I was directing the workers to move my luggage, Lila came over, walking on her high heels, looking down at me condescending. "Elena, so what if you took advantage of my absence when I was abroad? Now you still have to leave in a sorry state." In Brother Zhu's heart, only I am the most important. No matter how much you try, a stand-in will always be just a stand-in. I had just received the bank transfer notification. The compensation and 7-digit numbers were shining brightly. Lila, who had helped me get this compensation, seemed much more amiable in my eyes. They smiled and echoed, "Yes. Yes, you Ray, the most important person in Gabriel's heart. How could I compare with you?" Lila snorted. "At least you know your place." Then she walked away on her high heels. Not far away, I heard the butler, "Theodore, ask her which room she wanted to live in." She replied without thinking, "I'll live in the room where Brother Zhu hung all my photos to miss me." Theodore was puzzled. "There's no such room, is there?" She immediately raised her voice. "How could there not be? In novels, after the white moonlight goes abroad, the CEO always has a locked room that no one is allowed to enter. And it's used to put the white moonlight's photos. If you don't mean to say so, how can you say there isn't one?" I didn't hear the rest of her words clearly. I just shook my head and silently mourned for Theodore for 2 seconds. After moving into the penthouse, my life became very leisurely for a while. Besides sneaking back to the villa to cook 3 meals a day for Gabriel, avoiding Lila's sight with Theodore's help every day, I was relaxed and free at other times. I was getting more and more energetic. But Theodore was visibly becoming listless during another handover. I finally couldn't help asking him, "Theodore, is the work in the villa really that busy recently? I feel like you haven't had a good night's sleep for a long time." Theodore sighed, "Don't even mention it. Lila has been torturing me to death recently. On the first day she moved into the villa, she asked the CEO to fire me, and the reason was that I didn't tell her that she was the first woman the CEO brought home. The next day, she asked me if the CEO hadn't smiled for 10 years after she left. I just showed her a photo of Gabriel smiling during an interview a few days ago, and she got so angry that she directly threw my phone." Theodore seemed to have finally found someone to talk to and complained about all of Lila's deeds in the past week. Watching Theodore talk a blue streak, a wave of relief washed over me. Thank goodness I'd moved into the penthouse on my first day. Otherwise, having to deal with Lila's absurd melodramas every day would have definitely shortened my lifespan, but clearly, my sense of relief was premature. The peaceful days only lasted 2, and then the doorbell of the penthouse started ringing like a death knell. As soon as I opened the door, Lila shoved me aside and stormed in. She paraded around the room like a peacock patrolling its territory, and lifted her chin haughtily and said, "No wonder you walked away so nonchalantly back, and so she had another house to hide you in." My eyebrows twitched with irritation. I just wanted to get rid of her as soon as possible. "Lila, I'm really just a chef. If you don't believe me, I can show you my labor contract." I pulled out the contract and handed it to her. When her eyes glanced at the annual salary figure, her pupils shrank sharply. 8 million, with a sneer, she snatched the contract and slammed it down on the coffee table. "What chef gets paid that much? This must be your sugar baby money. I earn my living with my own hands." Her words were nothing short of an insult. I'd had enough. I pulled out my phone and called Gabriel directly. "Gabriel, could you please keep your white moonlight in check?" A heavy sigh came from the other end of the line. "She went to find you. Let her answer the phone." Lila took the phone with a look of disdain. But her expression darkened as she listened. Finally, she shot me a fierce glare. "Said I get it into the phone," and hung up. She tilted her chin up again, regaining her arrogant demeanor. "You're lucky today. But don't think I'll let this go. Zhuji is just blinded by you right now. Soon enough, he'll realize that a fake like you will never compare to me." She stormed out after spitting out her threat. I stared at the door, which had been slammed so hard it shook, and wondered if I should ask Gabriel for emotional damages. To prevent Lila from causing more trouble, I stopped going to the villa altogether. In the following days, every day after cooking, I had butler Theodore take Gabriel's meal to him in a bento box. When Theodore came again that day, he brought not only the bento box but also an invitation to Lila's welcome party. I stared at the gold-embossed invitation, my temples throbbing violently. I was about to refuse when Theodore added, "Gabriel's had no choice but to give in to Lila. He said if you attend, he'll pay you 10 times your overtime." He looked at me with an expression that screamed, "You lucky girl." I immediately changed my tune. "Who is talking about overtime? If Gabriel needs me, I'll be there, no matter what." The welcome party was held at Gabriel's villa. When I arrived, Lila was playing the pianoforte. Spotlight shone on her, finally giving her that white moonlight charm she was so desperate to embody. As soon as the young elites and tycoons from Beijing's high society saw me, they swarmed over to chat. "Is Elena the chef for tonight's welcome party? Then I'm in for a real treat. Elena, have you thought about switching jobs lately? My mother has been craving your cooking like crazy." The piano playing came to an abrupt halt. Everyone's eyes instinctively turned to Lila. She picked up a microphone, her eyes blazing with anger as she looked at the crowd surrounding me. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Gabriel's real white moonlight. The one you're all fawning over. She's just a lowly stand-in, not worthy of your attention. You can curry favor with people if you want, but don't curry favor with the wrong one. It'll be a waste of your efforts." The guests exchanged confused glances, then simply went back to chatting with me as if nothing had happened. Lila was convinced that I'd bribed everyone while she was away. She was furious, but then a sneer curled her lips, as if she'd suddenly remembered something. She lifted her dress and walked over, her expression switching to a fake smile in an instant. I played well just now, but I heard Elena is even more skilled at the piano. Why not play a piece to entertain everyone? If you refuse, you'll be looking down on all of us. As she spoke, Lila had a smug, "I'm waiting for you to make a fool of yourself" look on her face. She'd already done her homework. Elena was tone deaf by birth. Not only could she not play the piano, she couldn't even carry a simpleton once she got up there. She'd humiliate herself in front of everyone. And then you would finally see that the stand-in was nothing like her. Lila looked so proud, as if she'd already visualized my embarrassment. But I didn't hesitate for a second to reply. "You heard drawn. I can't play the piano at all." Lila's smugness froze on her face. She stared at me in disbelief. "You're just admitting it like that?" In novels, stand-ins always force themselves to imitate the white moonlight even if they can't do it. Why aren't you doing that? By the end of her sentence, her voice was cracking. She'd spent so much time planning this welcome party, all just to make me humiliate myself in public. Gabriel happened to arrive after finishing his work. Seeing her red-rimmed eyes, he hurried over to comfort her. "What's wrong?" She threw herself into his arms, her voice trembling with fake grievance. "Shuji, Elena bullied me." Gabriel frowned and looked at me. I immediately raised my hands in surrender. "I didn't do anything." The guests around us chattered. Explaining what had happened to Gabriel, he rubbed his temples. "Looking visibly exhausted. Just go play a little. I'll raise your overtime to 20 times. My face lit up instantly. "You're so generous, Gabriel." I walked over to the piano and mashed my fingers randomly on the keys. The noise that came out was a world apart from the smooth melody Lila had played just now. Lila grinned triumphantly, glancing around eagerly, waiting to watch everyone laugh at me, but the guests just clinked their glasses and chatted. As if they hadn't heard a thing, he stood up abruptly, completely stunned. "Why aren't you laughing at Elena? Why aren't you saying she's from a lowly background and not fit for this kind of gathering?" Someone looked confused and replied, "She just can't play the piano. What's there to laugh about? Besides, piano skills aren't a measure of a person. Elena might not know how to play the piano, but her cooking is as good as a state banquet. Everyone has things they're not good at. We should allow people to have flaws." Lila snapped. "But isn't your job as party backdrops to laugh at the stand-in who makes a fool of herself? Why aren't you laughing?" The air fell silent. You could hear the fizz of champagne. A young elite from Beijing circle sneered. "So Gabriel's banquet is so precious that we're only good for being backdrops? If that's the case, we won't stay to be an eyesore." Most of the guests stood up to leave immediately. No matter how Gabriel apologized, they refused to stay. Gabriel was beside himself, but Lila kept shouting, "Let them go if they want. And Shuji's white moonlight, offend me, and tomorrow I'll make Shuji ruin them." As soon as she said that, the remaining guests didn't want to stay either. They glanced at Lila like she was insane and walked out. The welcome party ended on a sour note just like that. I was about to leave too, but Lila grabbed my wrist. "You can't go." She turned to Gabriel. "Shuji, the party turned out like this because Elena wanted to frame me and make me look bad. You have to punish her for me." Gabriel's face darkened, and the disappointment in his eyes was impossible to hide. "Lila, can you stop causing trouble? What happened to you?" Lila's face paled instantly. "You're defending this stand-in and talking to me like this. Gabriel, you say I've changed, but it's you who's changed. It looks like you've chosen her over Medon. Do you regret it?" With that, she grabbed her bag and rushed out of the villa. I patted Gabriel's shoulder solemnly. "Tough day. And remember to transfer my overtime to my card." I was about to step out when I saw Gabriel's face turn pale. He clutched his stomach tightly. His stomachache was acting up again. I couldn't leave now. I hurried to help him sit on the sofa, then went to the kitchen to make him soothing porridge. After taking care of Gabriel all night, his complexion finally improved. I stretched and was about to leave the villa when I saw Lila lingering outside the door. Clearly, since Gabriel hadn't chased after her last night, she was too proud to come in. When she saw me, her eyes widened in disbelief. "I was only gone one night. And Yuji was in such a hurry to have you stay with him," she said. "Elena, you're more scheming than I thought. But don't be smug. I have plenty of ways to deal with you." I didn't want to bother with Lila anymore. Talking to her felt like lowering my IQ. I was about to leave when Lila mustered up her resolve and rushed into the villa. Might you need to, but after reflecting all night, I know I was wrong, she said. Tears streaming down her face. I also know Elena is important to you. I'll never try to drive her away again, will you forgive me? Seeing Lila sobbing, Gabriel's expression softened quickly. I'm glad you've come around. He turned to me. In that case, Elena, move back to the villa. I'll need you these days anyway. I knew Gabriel was referring to his stomachique, but Lila clearly misunderstood when she saw Gabriel didn't refute and even agreed to let me move back. Her face paled further, and her eyes filled with resentment as she looked at me, but soon, she forced a malicious smile at me. My brow twitched. I had a bad feeling things wouldn't be calm while I was on edge. Butler Theodore seemed to have finally found an ally every day. He'd sneak into the kitchen to whisper complaints about Lila to me once, right after we finished venting our frustrations. Lila's voice came from behind. Mare, look at Elena. She takes so much money from you, yet she's getting cozy with another man. She was referring to the sugar baby money she'd made up earlier. Gabriel didn't catch her implication, but he frowned instinctively. Theodore. You're a man after all, watch your boundaries. Theodore laughed awkwardly and left the kitchen. Lila, seeing Gabriel only scolded Theodore but said nothing to me, grew even more resentful that day. I was in the kitchen preparing lunch when Lila suddenly rushed in and snatched the knife from my hand. Elena, stop being so arrogant. Today's the day you get kicked out of Hawthorne. She took the knife and stabbed a blood pack tight around her waist. Then screamed in agony, it hurts. Elena, I just wanted to help you chop vegetables. Why did you stab me with a knife? Gabriel heard the commotion, rushed downstairs, and caught Lila as she pretended to collapse. His brows furrowed tightly. Elena, I know you've been wrong these days, but you can't hurt someone. I calmly pointed at the ceiling. Gabriel, there are cameras in the kitchen. Instead of blaming me, you should check the footage first. Lila clearly hadn't expected there to be cameras. Panic flashed in her eyes when she saw Gabriel was about to go check the footage. She grabbed him and wailed, Shuji, it hurts so bad. Don't worry about the camera. Take me to the hospital first, please. Gabriel didn't hesitate. He picked her up and ran outside. I thought for a moment, told Theodore to handle the camera footage, and followed them to the hospital. In the examination room, with no one else around, Lila grabbed the doctor's hand and slipped him a card. Later. Tell everyone I have kidney failure from the stabbing. I need to take the kidney of that woman who came with me, do you understand? The doctor froze, holding the card with a complicated expression. But Lila thought everything was set. She ordered the doctor to wheel her out of the room in a wheelchair outside the room. Gabriel hurried over when he saw Lila being pushed out. Doctor, how is Lila? Is it serious? Do I need to contact famous doctors abroad for surgery right now? The doctor opened his mouth, unsure what to say. Lila, growing impatient, shot the doctor a sharp glare, then said weakly, the doctor said the stab wound caused kidney failure. I need an immediate kidney transplant. I think Elena's kidney would be perfect. She hurt me, so she should pay for it. She shot me a triumphant look, as if she was certain Gabriel would make me give her my kidney. I was left speechless. Lila went through all this trouble just to trick me into the hospital and steal my kidney. Did she really think this was some novel where the law didn't matter? Gabriel also frowned at her. Even if Elena's kidney were a match, and that's a big if, forcibly taking it without her consent is illegal. Lila, how could you even have such a thought? The smug look froze on Lila's face. She gaped, unable to speak for a moment, as if she'd never expected Gabriel to break the script. At that moment, the doctor finally seemed to snap out of his daze and let out a relieved breath. He cleared his throat, handed the card back to Gabriel, and explained, Gabriel, here's what happened. Lila just slipped me this card to bribe me. She wanted me to lie about her having kidney failure and say we needed to take this Elena's kidney. If I hadn't heard what you just said, I was ready to call the police right away. Thank goodness you understand the law. That puts my mind at ease. You should take some time to talk to Lila. Stop her from having these dangerous ideas, and don't let her treat the hospital like a joke, smearing some fake blood on herself just to waste medical resources. With that, The doctor turned back to his consulting room right before closing the door. I heard him mutter softly, "People these days have lost their minds from reading novels." She even gave me a card to bribe me but didn't even tell me the PIN. Does she really think this is a drama? I fought hard to hold back a laugh, but seeing Gabriel's darkening expression, I knew it wasn't the right time under Gabriel's disappointed gaze. Lila panicked and tried to defend herself. Shuji, look at how much blood I've lost. How could this be fake? Don't listen to that doctor's nonsense. He must be some relative of Elena's. So he's helping her just to stop me from getting a kidney transplant and let me die from kidney failure. Can you bear to see me die from such a misunderstanding? Gabriel's temples throbbed. He was about to speak when my phone suddenly rang. It was a video from Theodore, the kitchen surveillance footage. I opened it and handed the phone to Gabriel. The video clearly showed Lila snatching the knife, stabbing the blood pack, and collapsing to the floor and pretending to cry. Gabriel held the phone out to Lila. "And now what do you have to say for yourself?" Lila's face turned pale, but she soon burst into tears again. "Shuji, I know I was wrong. But I just couldn't stand your eyes being stuck on a substitute all the time. I'm your real white moonlight. Not her. I've told you this so many times," Gabriel said sharply, his eyes cutting. "Elena is the chef I hired. She's not your substitute." It was the first time Gabriel had spoken to her so harshly. Lila froze mid-sob, standing there in shock, her face full of disbelief. Gabriel turned to me, his tone heavy. "Elena, I'm sorry for jumping to conclusions and misunderstanding you today." I sighed. This wasn't the first time Lila had dragged me into her chaos, from the substitute misunderstanding to the welcome party fiasco. And now this frame-up. I'd been hired to cook for an $8 million annual salary, not to star in a cheesy drama. "Gabriel, I accept your apology, but I've decided to resign." Gabriel looked stunned, then hurried to persuade me. "I can raise your salary and I'll definitely sort things out with Lila. She won't harass you again." "It's not about the money." I shook my head. "I'm just a chef. I only want to cook in peace, not be tangled up in this substitute mess every day." No matter how hard Gabriel tried to convince me, I stood firm. Finally, he sighed in defeat. "All right. I respect your decision. Your salary and severance pay will be transferred to you as soon as possible." After returning to Hawthorne from the hospital, I quickly packed my bags to leave. Theodore helped me while sighing. "What am I going to do now that you're leaving?" He'd been a butler at Hawthorne since Gabriel's parents' time and had long considered it his home. He couldn't bear to leave. I patted his shoulder. "Theodore, don't sigh too soon. Just wait until Gabriel marries Lila. Then your real hard days will begin." At that, Theodore looked like he was about to faint. As I carried my luggage out of Hawthorne, I glanced back. Gabriel was standing on the second-floor balcony, watching me with a complicated expression. Lost in thought. I waved, then turned and got into a taxi. Finally, I was free from Lila's nonsense. No more sneaking around to cook without her disrupting me. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted. After moving back to my old rented apartment, I gave myself a vacation. I slept in every day, and when I woke up, I experimented with new recipes. Life couldn't have been more comfortable. I thought I'd left all the drama with Hawthorne behind until 3 days later, when my phone blew up. A friend sent me a link to a trending topic, and the headline read, "Calculating substitute kicked out of rich family, flees with valuables." I clicked on it, and the video showed me packing my luggage a few days earlier. Lila must have secretly filmed it, deliberately zooming in on the designer bags and watches in my suitcase. The caption read, "I was only abroad for a few months, and this shameless woman dressed up like me to seduce Jada T. She even used his money to buy luxury goods. And now that I've exposed her, she's run away in disgrace. Should I, the real girlfriend, get these things back?" The comment section was in an uproar. Wow, so this is what substitute literature looks like in real life. Using someone else's money to buy luxuries. How shameless. Feel bad for the white moonlight sister, having her place stolen by a substitute for so long. Return the stuff immediately. People who take things for free are disgusting. I was still scrolling through the comments when my phone received a message from an unknown number. "Elena, saw the trending topic. Be smart and return all the luxury goods Shuji bought you, otherwise, I don't mind making you even more famous." I stared at Lila's message, so angry I almost laughed. Those luxury goods were bought with my own salary, every penny of it. With an annual salary of 8 million yuan, couldn't I even afford a few luxury items? I was about to reply when my phone rang again. This time. It wasn't Lila, but Gabriel. Elena. I saw what's happening online. I'm sorry, it's because of Lila again. His voice was laced with apology. I'll have my PR team help you clarify and sue those spreading rumors. I refused outright. No need. If you step in, it'll only confirm the substitute narrative. It'll make things even harder to explain. I have my own way to clear this up. No need to trouble yourself, Gabriel. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and posted a screenshot of my employment contract with Gabriel. The contract clearly stated an annual salary of 8 million yuan and my position as a private chef. Then I shared the purchase receipts for all the luxury items, each marked with the purchase date and amount, all bought with my own bank card. After I started the job, my clarification read, I, Elena, am Mr. Gabriel's hired private chef with an annual salary of 8 million yuan. I am not a so-called substitute. The luxury items in the video were purchased with my legitimate income. There is no truth to the claim that I fled with valuables. Innocence speaks for itself. Those spreading rumors, please show some respect. As soon as the clarification was posted, the comment section fell silent for a few seconds, then exploded. Whoa! A chef with an 8 million annual salary? What kind of god-tier cooking skills does that require? Sorry, sister, with 8 million, buying these luxuries is just pocket change. So it's not a substitute story. I really had a narrow perspective. So Lila was spreading rumors. That's such a confusing move. To my surprise, several young elites and tycoons who'd attended the welcome party even reposted my clarification. Young master of the Beijing circle, Elena's cooking is on par with state banquet standards. My mom has been pestering me to poach her as our family chef. 8 million a year is totally worth it. CEO Shang of Hengyu Group. I still can't forget the Buddha jumps over the wall Elena made last time. Elena, have you considered opening a private restaurant? I'll be the first to sign up. CEO Li of Shengxi Group. I'll argue with anyone who badmouths Elena. If she's a substitute, what does that make us who are all fighting to hire her? With these big names speaking up, the comment section completely flipped. People went from just to salivating over the thought of Elena's cooking. The tycoons all say, so how good must Elena's food be? Please open a restaurant, Elena. Achieve for 3 days and nights. Feel bad for Elena. She was tangled up in this substitute mess and even got slandered. I smiled as I read the comments. Not only had I not lost out, but I'd also gotten a free ad for myself. I was about to reply to netizens saying, I was considering opening a private restaurant when I received an anonymous message with several photos and an audio clip. The photos were Lila's pregnancy test report and abortion consent form from a foreign hospital. The audio was a conversation between Lila and her friend. I didn't go abroad to relax. I got drunk and pregnant with someone else's baby, so I had to sneak abroad for an abortion. Gabriel's such a fool. He actually believed I just wanted to stay abroad for a while and even visited me every week. Well, having fulfilled my obsession. That's the charm of being a white moonlight for you. I raised an eyebrow. This was practically a gift-trapped counterattack. Since Lila refused to leave me alone, I saw no reason to hold back. I blurred the private information in the evidence, posted it anonymously online, and added a caption. What did someone who claims to be a white moonlight actually do during her 3-month trip abroad? As soon as the evidence was exposed, the internet erupted. Lila's lies were exposed. And netizens who'd sympathized with her earlier turned on her, calling her calculating and a compulsive liar. Gabriel was working abroad at the time. When he finally had a free moment, he asked his assistant, how's Elena's reputation online now? Are people still bashing her? If so, have the company's legal team handle it right away. The assistant shook his head. No one's bashing Elena anymore. But, he hesitated, then showed Gabriel the messages on his phone. Gabriel's brows furrowed deeper as he read. After finishing his work, he flew back home overnight, threw his phone in front of Lila, and asked coldly, Lila, having fulfilled my obsession, what's the truth behind all this? Lila's face turned deathly pale when she saw the photos and audio. but she still tried to defend herself. It's Elena. She framed me. All of this is fake. The pregnancy test has your signature. And that's your voice in the audio. Are you still going to lie? Gabriel's voice was filled with disappointment. I really misjudged you all these years. Theodore. Pack her things and send her out of Hawthorne. She is not allowed to step foot here again. Lila froze for a moment, then suddenly laughed. I get it. This must be the part where the hero and heroine get into a bigger fight because of the substitute's meddling. Gabriel, you'll regret kicking me out today. When you realize you love me and come begging for my forgiveness, I won't let you off easy. She was convinced Gabriel would eventually beg her to come back. The so-called chasing wife redemption arc trope. As they called it as she packed her things, she put on an air of I'll be waiting for you to beg me. Then left Hawthorne without looking back. Gabriel watched her figure disappear, letting out a helpless sigh staring at the empty house. He suddenly missed the warmth of home-cooked meals from before. After hesitating for a long time, he took out his phone and dialed my number. Elena. About Lila. I still need to say sorry to you, he said. My tone was calm. Gabriel. You already apologized once. You didn't call just for that, did you? You see right through me. He hesitated for a moment, then continued. I read the recent comments online. I wanted to ask. Have you thought about opening a private restaurant? I can invest. You won't have to put in a penny. And you'll get all the profits. I froze for a second, then laughed. Gabriel. Are you trying to ask me to come back to cook for you in a roundabout way? No, he said quickly. I just think your cooking deserves to be known by more people. There was a faint awkwardness in his tone. Besides, my stomach really can't get used to anyone else's cooking. I thought it over. Opening a private restaurant had always been my plan. With someone willing to invest and stay out of the way, why would I say no? Deal. But I have one condition. You can't interfere with my operations just because you're the investor, and when you eat here, you have to wait in line and make reservations like everyone else. No special treatment. No problem. Gabriel agreed without hesitation. Later, with Gabriel's support, my private restaurant took off. True to his word, he never meddled in my business. When he came to eat, he'd patiently wait in line, just like any other customer. He showed up for all 3 meals every day. And it felt like we were back to the days when I cooked for him at Hawthorne to soothe his stomach. Except this time, there was no more trouble from Lila. I once asked Gabriel out of curiosity why Lila had never reached out to him again. His expression turned as if he'd swallowed a fly. After a long pause, he said, before I told her to leave Hawthorne. She said the plot had gotten to the part where the hero and heroine fall into deeper misunderstandings because of the stand-in. She was convinced I'd soon come to my senses and chase after her. I couldn't help but sigh. Lila really was clinging to her cheesy white moonlight persona till the very end. After that, Gabriel and I had an unspoken agreement never to mention Lila again. Every time Gabriel came for a meal, he'd bring me a small gift. Sometimes just a wildflower picked by the roadside. Sometimes a new piece of jewelry from a recent collection. When I took the gifts, I'd tease him. When you hired me as a chef, it only cost you $8 million a year. Now you not only pay for your meals here, but also bring me gifts. This must be costing you more than $8 million. Right? He'd smile softly. As long as you like them, it's worth it. When our eyes met, his deep and warm, my heart would suddenly start racing. Half a year passed with us seeing each other every day. One day, Gabriel arrived with a huge bouquet of roses as a gift. I hesitated to take it and asked, "Do you know what giving roses means?" Gabriel nodded. "It means all my money will be under your management from now on, so will you let me? Who would ever say no to managing the finances?" I nodded with a smile. Our relationship heated up quickly, and we soon decided to get married. The wedding was set for a sunny weekend, with our relatives, friends, and regulars from the restaurant in attendance. I was in the lounge putting on my white wedding dress when butler Theodore stood beside me, wiping away tears. You have no idea how excited I was when I heard Gabriel was marrying you. It's such a relief. Thank goodness he didn't marry Lila. My future isn't all dark anymore. He clearly remembered what I'd said the day I resigned, and his face was full of gratitude. His words made me pause. I realized I hadn't heard a word about Lila in ages. Just as I thought that, disaster struck. I was holding Gabriel's arm. About to exchange rings, when the church doors suddenly crashed open. Lila rushed in, her hair messy and eyes wild. Clutching a glass bottle. Elena, you shameless stand-in. You not only turned Yuji against me but also ruined the chasing wife redemption plot. Now you're stealing my wedding, die, she screamed and lunged at me, lifting the bottle to splash its contents. It was clearly sulfuric acid. Thankfully, Gabriel had been prepared and hired bodyguards in advance. They rushed forward and stopped her at once. Pinned to the ground, Lila still screamed frantically, why? I'm supposed to be the white moonlight heroine. The plot was supposed to be Yuji and me overcoming all misunderstandings and living happily ever after. How did it turn out like this? The police arrived soon after and took Lila away, watching her being dragged out, screaming and hysterical. I sighed. She was still living in her cheesy novel fantasy, never once facing reality. Gabriel stared at the sulfuric acid bottle on the ground, then held my hand tightly. His voice laced with fear. Are you okay? I'm fine. I smiled to reassure him. Even managing a joke, Lila always thinks she's the white moonlight heroine in a novel, and you're the hero. Don't tell me. You actually are? Your name is even Gabriel. Gabriel tapped my nose helplessly. Even if I were a hero, you'd be my only heroine there. We smiled at each other as we exchanged rings. The banquet hall erupted in applause. Our married life was simple and warm. Gabriel's stomach healed completely, and his favorite thing to do every day was hang around the kitchen with me, occasionally tasting dishes to help me adjust the flavors. My private restaurant expanded into a chain, but I still insisted on developing new recipes myself. Once, during an interview, a reporter asked maliciously, Elena, is your success today because you replaced the original and got Gabriel's support? Gabriel, who was sitting beside me, instantly frowned and moved to shield me, ready to answer for me. But I held him back, then smiled at the reporter. No one has ever been a stand-in for someone else. My success today is simply because I'm a chef who loves cooking.